Hey everyone, welcome back to our New Testament challenge. Today we're in Mark chapter 2. And today I want us to look at, really hone in on verses 13 through 17. I'll read it for you. It says, Jesus went out again beside the sea. The whole crowd was coming to him and he was teaching them. Then passing by, he saw Levi, the son of Alphaeus, sitting at the tax office. He said to him, "Follow me," and he got up and followed him. While he was reclining at the table in Levi's house, many tax collectors and sinners were eating with Jesus and his disciples, for there were many who were following him. When the scribes who were Pharisees saw that he was eating with sinners and tax collectors, they asked his disciples, "Why does he eat with tax collectors and sinners?" When Jesus heard this, he told them, "It is not those who are well who need a doctor, but those who are sick. I didn't come to call the righteous, but the sinners." So if you're sitting here thinking like, "David, I've never really heard of Levi before. Like, who is that?" This is Matthew we're talking about here. Matthew, who we just walked through his gospel, and now Mark is talking about him, but he uses the name Levi. There, I don't really know why that was the name he chose. That could have been another name for Matthew, but regardless, he uses the name Levi here, but we know that he's talking about Matthew. And I think that one of my favorite things about this is Matthew, Levi, was a tax collector, was not a great job, was not a high society job to have, was not a high, it wasn't a good job in the sense of it paid well, but there were a lot of tax collectors who were dirty and greedy and took more than they should have. And so, tax collectors were not looked highly upon in that society. But this is what I love about the story. Jesus calls a well-known sinner to come and to follow him and eat at his house. But this is what I said. This is what I love. It says, "Then passing by, he saw Levi, the son of Alphaeus, Matthew, sitting at the tax office, and he said, 'Follow me.'" And then what we read next is, "And he got up and followed him." There was no explanation, no context to this command by Jesus. All he said was, "Follow me." And Matthew, Levi, left everything there, got up and followed him and asked no questions on where they were going, what they were doing, nothing. All he did was he got up and he started following Jesus. And so here we look at when we can see the faith and the just the willingness to follow Jesus by his disciples. This is not the first time we see a disciple getting up and just going. But let me ask you this: if you believer, if Jesus were to call you to go and do something out of your comfort zone, or if he was in fact calling you to no longer play in the band or no longer play your sport, would you say, "Okay, Lord," and submit? Or would you be a little upset and maybe pitch a fit or talk to God about it or argue with him about it? This is the thing. When God calls you to something, there's nothing you can do to stop that, because one way or the other, you're going to go where you're called. We see that with Jonah. But this is the thing. Are you in fact willing to follow God and to do what he has called you to do? Because he might call you to some uncomfortable situations, something that you're not necessarily fond of or desiring to do, but God's calling you to that. So let me ask you today, and as you go throughout your day, and you're thinking, "Well, David, I'm in middle school, like I'm not necessarily going to a career anytime soon," but God might be calling you to something else, something that you don't see. And so let me ask you this: are you willing to follow him with no questions asked, willing to go? That's what Matthew did, and he ended up being a disciple and following Jesus till literally Jesus died and went back up into heaven. And while we won't see that, I'm asking you, are you willing to do whatever to follow Jesus? We'll see you tomorrow.